Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Hello, welcome to Messy Imperfect Life with Leigh. And today I have the extraordinary, I'm going to say, because I find you extraordinary,
Aw, ditto.
Becky Hosmer. And Becky and I met on an airplane.
Oh, that is the best story ever.
We
How
met recently. I mean, no, last year, October.
Yeah, but the way we met is hysterical.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah, so I was on a plane with Leigh, and we were going to Aspen for
Put your mouth a little
Okay,
closer so they can hear
alright.
your dainty,
Um,
pretty voice.
the Lead with Love, and I was totally grumpy, and I was sitting in my seat, and it was one of those nights where I didn't sleep so great, and you were sitting behind me, and I remember you're walking onto the plane, and you were such a big connector, and you were having a conversation behind me, and you were so loud, and I gave you a dirty look, and I turned around and I looked at you, and you smiled. I remember you smiled, and then you reached over and said, "Hi, I'm Leigh. Are you going to the conference?" And I just remember that icebreaker, and it was fascinating because it just goes to show how we can be in our head, and then it's just all it takes is love for you to connect. And you were just so
Yes.
loving, and then we really got to know each other on the retreat.
I am really loud. And I'm always a little overexcited for everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey. And so I came on the plane like, hi, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you. Hi.
Totally.
And then I got back there and I had all of that excited energy. Now, normally can be really loud. And I thought I was being
Oh
like
my
a
God,
petite
you're
flower.
hysterical. I love
And
that.
so I just remember like talking. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? What? I thought I was even whisper talking. And then all of a sudden you turned around and you were like this.
Oh my God. That makes
And
me
I
feel
go,
horrible.
and you turned around and go, that lady in
girl
front of
just
me doesn't like me.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm having a hard time
That's
with it.
horrible.
Not sure what I'm going to do with it. And then all of a sudden my hand like leaned forward to push you.
Which speaks volumes about yourself.
I was
So,
just like, what is
yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
But really I was more fascinated because I got a dirty look when I thought I was being
Oh my
quiet. Like
God.
in the past, I'm
I was
used
clearly
to.
in a bad mood, which is very rare.
You
So
are,
it's a funny story.
and you're kind of like this, like even. Like I'm kind of like all over the place.
Oh my
And you're
God.
like this even kind
That
of.
is not true.
It's not.
No, not at all.
I
I mean, I have to
haven't.
do a lot. I think it all depends on, I haven't been even like historically. I think that I tend to, I'm definitely like introvert slash extrovert, but
What does that mean exactly?
I don't know, like I love living in the city. I love activity. I love being social, but I also love my downtime. I love being quiet. And sometimes I can
Yeah.
get fried if I'm going. But that's the probably healthier version of myself that I recognize where I need to be.
You seem like you're a reflective person. Like you listen and soak stuff in. Is that so?
I guess so. Yeah, I like to listen.
That's like
Yeah.
that's like the number one trait I think to have to let people know that they're worthy and they matter and they're loved is to
Yeah.
listen. So
You're great. I think the same of you.
You do?
That's funny. Yeah, and I
You think I'm a
remember
great listener?
totally. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've been
Yeah.
working on that
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah. I think that takes practice because I think there's a lot of us that I think it's a connecting with yourself and recognizing like that it's okay with silence. I was always I could not be the
Yes.
kind of person that could be in a conversation or a room when there was a silence. I would always have to fill it. And now I realize that that's sort of control and that's ego and to be able to be okay with what is.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Byron Katie.
Oh my God, is that what?
That's what Byron Katie talks about, being at peace with what is. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it saves us so much struggling and grief if we can just accept
Yeah.
what is. We don't have to like it or participate,
Yeah.
but not make it bad or wrong.
Yeah. Or just be like not so much in your head. I think most of my life I've been in my head and like, what's going to happen? What's the plan? Am I going to be okay? And to be at peace with, it's going to unfold.
Do you meditate?
I mean, it's not very natural for me. So I lived in Bali for years.
Why?
5 years. So I have a company called Annabeth Designs. Oh, here's a pitch.
Oh my gosh, no, seriously. Her jewelry, if you go on to her Instagram, which is
Annabeth Designs.
okay,
Yeah.
Annabeth Design, go on to it and look at the photos. I find when I go to your Instagram feed, I am instantly soothed. The
Oh,
colors and the
that's so nice.
simplicity and
You're
the
so
it's
sweet.
so organized. I'm like,
Thank you. Hasn't
Oh, I
always
can
been
get
like
lost
that.
in people's hands and their neck and their ears.
Thank you. We're always trying to like.
It's so clean
I'm
and
so
fresh.
self-critical, so I'm like, thank you. So I ended up in Bali about 3 years after starting my business, and my business is a jewelry company, and I did production out of Bali, but I would go on trips there. So I ended up going and creating jewelry for myself and my family and my friends, and then it became a business.
You went there for production?
I went there for just as a traveler, and I ended up connecting with these artisans, and I didn't even know I was creative. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
isn't that crazy? And
So you weren't doing any designing before you went to Bali?
I worked as a sales rep, or I worked in the industry of fashion. And I think with anybody that does a business, there's this part of us that goes, well, I want to do it this way. I want to do it differently, or I have this vision. And so there's this
Yes.
part of us that goes, oh, they're doing it that way, but I would do it this way. And I think that's like our soul
I
saying,
have that with, I buy these Sorel shoes,
yeah,
and my favorite pair of theirs, like these are low,
yeah,
and I love them. I
yeah,
like how they
yeah,
and then my
yeah,
favorite shoes are higher, and
yeah.
I always think I need to call the
Yeah.
designers and ask to do this with a low
Well, maybe
cut.
you need to do it.
I know, and then I do the same thing. I
Yeah,
do that.
because that's how you're built.
It's
You're
just like
creative, and
creative.
yeah. So I think that, well, I really feel like we're led to be where we need to be.
Yeah.
But it's really stopping the chatter and
But
connecting
how
with
do
our
you stop the
intuition.
chatter if you're not doing meditation?
Well, I mean, I didn't get to meditation right away. So my story really started, when I was in my 20s. I was like heavily drinking. I was
Oh, can we get
really.
in the
Oh
mess
yeah, let's
now?
get into the
Let's
mess.
get in the
Yeah,
dirt.
let's get into the
And it's nice to
the
hear
real.
mess from you because
Yeah.
you are kind of put together.
Oh
I said
God,
kind of.
you so don't know me. That
Well,
is
you come as
hysterical.
a polished package today. Yeah, that's. I sometimes get dressed up too, and I'm like,
But
I look
that's
really put together. If
that's
they
what I
only
love
knew.
about you is you're so real and raw, and like I don't give a shit what people think. You do give a shit what people think, but there's just this
I'm
part of
not
you that's
sure I
so
do.
real that I'm like, oh my God. And when I really got to know you, I was like, oh, we're going to be friends
Oh, I love
because you were
that.
so authentic, and it's so rare,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what were you just saying that I wanted to say?
The
Oh, we're
mess.
going to get into the
Let's
mess.
get
Yeah,
into the mess.
and here's why I love the mess
Yeah.
because we look like we're put together,
Yeah.
right? Or we look
I'm
like.
not.
And she's got a freaking company that she started that's all over the nation now, isn't
Oh,
it?
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, which we're going to hear about too for entrepreneurs. I
Yeah.
want this one to be too because
I
of how
love
you
that.
did it.
Yeah.
But the mess is it's so beautiful and freeing, not only for us but for people listening
Yeah.
because they look at us going, "Oh, look, she's doing
Yeah.
a podcast
She looks
and
great.
she
Yeah.
owns a
Yeah.
ring company."
Yeah.
This is my favorite
I
ring.
own a
This
ring
is my power
company.
ring. A ring company. I didn't mean to say that.
I love that.
But
We
anyway, I
only
love
do
this
rings.
ring so much. It's a
Oh.
power ring. And she brought me this substitute because I just got back from somewhere and I wear it on this finger, but I can't find
Which
it.
is your power finger.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this finger. It's
Yeah.
like it is like a little shield, and it
Yeah.
means I mean business.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think people know that before I show my ring, but it reminds me I mean business.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
But anyway, the mess is the good stuff
Yeah.
because that fuels us.
Yeah, I
Tell
don't
me
I
about
don't mind
yours.
sharing that. So I was in my 20s, and one of the big turning points for me, actually backing up to when I was in college, was I took a trip overseas to Asia. And one of the places I went was Nepal, and it just totally changed my life. And I think it was because I came from, kind of a chaotic background, big family, definitely a lot of dysfunction. And so I found this peace when I went to Nepal. And while I was in Nepal, you did all these internships as a student. And one of the internships I did was I worked with a jewelry maker in Nepal.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got to work with a silversmith, and it was like the 90s. So it was all about, like, remember how jewelry used to be like, it would be like a hook that like went all the way back, or like I made
Yeah.
a pair of sunflower lapis earrings. Like, that's
Yeah.
obviously very dated. I'm dating myself. And
She's so old.
yeah, I'm so old.
I'm way younger than you.
And then another internship I did was I worked at Mother Teresa's orphanage.
What?
And it was, yeah, but I didn't.
Where was it?
It was in Nepal.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So you got to pick these internships, but I felt like that trip really set this, it was such a game changer for me. And
So
then I
you went from college?
So I
you
was
got
in
to
college, and I got to do this year abroad
And you
in
got
one
to
of the
pick.
places. Yeah. And I remember seeing, like, they presented all these programs to us. And I remember seeing this poppy field in Nepal and being like, I'm going to go there. But I think that's your intuition when you see
Yes.
things and you know.
Yep.
And I knew intuitively because I wasn't necessarily the most comfortable, I wasn't a comfortable young lady. I was very much searching outside myself.
Right.
And so I went to Nepal and it was incredible. And then I went back to New York where I grew up. And
I want to hear a little bit more about Nepal if I could, because I've
sure,
never been.
sure.
What was the orphanage like? Mother Teresa's orphanage.
Well,
Was she there?
no, she did have a lot of orphanages, which she still does. She's obviously passed. But it was kind of bare bones, a lot of kids that were, there were a lot of young girls taking care of the babies.
Oh,
And there were a lot of babies in like soiled diapers and birth defects and a lot of abandoned babies. And, it was pretty rustic,
yeah.
and pretty um basic.
Did you
And
live in like a little?
I didn't live there, so I was in a school, but we would go off every day
Oh,
and
I
work in these
see.
internships. But fast forward, I remember after I came back from Nepal, I mean, anytime you take a trip or you feel connected in a way that it feels there's some kind of freedom, you come back to your normal life and you're kind of high from that experience.
Yeah.
Like what we felt probably at Lead with Love, that retreat. And
Yeah.
because you're around all these inspiring people. But what I found really remarkable about Nepal is that I'd never been to a third world country. So when I was there, I think I went through culture shock. And I remember the day I drove through Kathmandu and we went up to this mountain village. And this is like a big defining moment for me too, is I remember pulling up and the students were all there. I'd missed a flight, so I ended up coming later. And I remember looking down. First of all, you arrived in this village where there was this little eco resort and you could see the Himalayas. And I was speechless. And I remember walking onto this cliff and looking down, and there were these three little kids that were just staring at the mountains like they were looking at a movie screen. Like there was such peace and contentment there that
Yeah.
I'd never experienced as a kid. I mean, I grew up with 7 brothers and sisters, total chaos,
Where'd you grow up?
upstate New York in Rochester, New
All
York.
right. All right.
But I think that when you experience something so different from what it's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. It kind of opens the world.
But I was far from peaceful. I mean, it was just like, but I remember those little moments.
What could be, or what is out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What's the mess? Because that's not messy.
So
Nepal. It sounds
yeah,
amazing.
Nepal's not messy, but
No.
after college, even during college, I was heavily drinking. I think I was just trying to find my way, and I just felt lost, and it
Yeah.
didn't matter what job I got, what city I moved to, what relationship I got in, what haircut I had. I was like a
Yes.
chameleon, and I remember just trying to search. And then I hit sort of a bottom, and I ended up moving to San Francisco. And I remember that moment, they call it a moment of clarity, where I just was like, I can't, I had, I remember going to a therapist's office and saying, she said, what do you think you need to do? Or like, because my life was a mess. It was so literally, I just had no control over my life. And I would, go to work and I would dress up, or, it was like I tried to do all these things to make me feel stabilized. But every time I picked up a drink, it would just all dissipate. It was like I had no, it was so, they call it like slippery slope. Like
Yeah.
I just had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I felt so empty and alone.
So what I loved is the point you brought up about just moving place to place, trying a
Yeah.
job, going there, trying
Yeah.
there. It's like no matter what you do or what hat you put on or what
Yeah.
outfit you put on,
Yeah.
that kind of lonely, homesick, I'm all alone
Totally.
feeling still exists no matter where you go or who you partner with or whatever.
But I could find it. The funny thing is, I found it in Nepal. Like you can find it through the most simple things, which
Yeah.
is human connection,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to find that. And so I really, and as soon as decided to stop drinking,
Did you decide in the therapist's office that day or shortly
no, I
thereafter?
think I remember the moments of like being around people that were heavily in that world, and then just knowing because my mom had been like sober for years, and I think it was just like there was no other choice. And I knew I had the education to know that there was another way.
Yeah.
And it was the minute I stopped, mm, it was like everything was so much clearer. Like I knew where I
Wow.
parked my car. My job got better. I mean,
Yeah.
there's functional people. I was not functional.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no way. And
Would you
so,
black out, pass out?
oh, totally. Yeah. And it happens really quickly. Like it can be,
You feel
kind of
normal?
dormant. And then it's like, but for me, it became it was that soul sickness, where you feel like, I don't know. I felt, I mean, I love the word messy. Like I felt messy
Yeah.
and like just
Disconnected.
totally. And then I didn't even know I was creative before I got clean and sober.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So I think sometimes we don't know our power
Because
when
that just
we're
poured like a veil over your creative.
totally, totally. I had
Yeah.
no idea, no clue. And so it was maybe a year after I stopped drinking that I decided to I started my jewelry brand.
So before we get into your jewelry brand, I
Yeah.
just think that's so interesting. She quit drinking
It's all out there, people.
and found out that she was creative. It's
Yeah.
like we don't even know
Mhm.
all of the glory
Yeah,
that
I
is
agree.
inside of us.
I totally agree.
And you did some things and made some lifestyle changes to start accessing it. And
Mm.
then boom, a year later, you start your company.
Yeah.
And how on earth, this is like, this stuff is so cool to me. So you stopped drinking. You remembered you worked with a jewelry guy.
I didn't
you were
until
in-
years later.
Oh,
Isn't
right.
that weird? I
So
had like
I think
blocked it
God
out.
plants little seeds
I
for us
do.
along the way to
I totally
prepare
agree.
us for what's coming.
Totally agree.
And I feel like that with me too. Like I did stand-up comedy, I
Yeah.
did improv, I did a one-woman show, I did all these things on stage, and then I got really connected to who I really am
Yeah.
and my humor, and I can marry them and take them on stage in a new way that's meaningful to me, not trying to write a joke to make someone else laugh.
And healing.
And
Like what you're doing is healing other people.
Healing.
Yeah, that's your gift. I think it's the God. I call it God. You can call it universe, but I feel like universe was talking to me the whole time. And so when we come from chaos and darkness, when there's those little, windows that say, oh, this feels good. And I feel like that's where I'm at right now, even at 44.
44.
Hey girl, I'm going to be 45 in like a
Come
week
here
and a
and
half.
let me rock you, little baby.
I love it. You
Happy
look about,
birthday.
thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, I
I'm
feel
sorry.
like
I did not want to cut off your compliment. You're about to tell me I look like what?
You look amazing.
Okay, thank you.
So I feel like I still experience that now when we're trying to let go of what doesn't serve us
Yeah.
and go towards, what serves us.
Yeah. And I love the simplicity of what's no longer serving you.
Yeah.
Like when I was young, I had to fight and act tough and
Yeah.
take care of everything because my mom wasn't around. But when I got older, I was like, oh, that doesn't serve me anymore.
Totally.
I don't need to
I think
push
it's
people.
very hard to see what doesn't serve you if you're attached to it or you're getting something out of it, even if it's not good for you. I think a lot of people, whether you surround yourself with people that maybe aren't the healthiest or you don't even see them as unhealthy, but I think when
As you rise, as you
Yeah.
evolve, as you wake up,
yeah, totally.
I think friends kind of fall to the wayside
agree.
that don't match your energy anymore.
totally
And then
agree.
new ones kind of get sucked into you,
Yeah.
which has happened to me,
is-
which has been beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah,
Me
and I had
too. Yeah.
complete awareness and like,
Yeah.
wow, you're here?
Yeah.
You're here?
But I
Thank
think
God.
it's really painful when we're letting go of what doesn't work for us. I mean, I think that's like cutting off a limb almost.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like when the cocoon and that thing is fighting for its life
Yeah.
to break free and then it becomes a beautiful butterfly. I know
Yeah.
that gets used a lot, but how scary for that slug in there
Yeah.
to be and not know what's coming.
Totally.
Like that's the home it knows, and
Totally.
bust out and have something really glorious happen. So
And that's very brave when you think about it.
yeah.
Because how many people, I mean, also it's really, I think it's harder to live your dreams than it is to, I think sometimes we get comfortable in being small.
Well, I think so many of us are taught to play small. Keep your mouth
Yeah,
shut.
I agree.
At school, memorize somebody else's words. The best memorizer wins.
Yeah.
When you go out, be respectful.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm here to have my life experience
Yeah.
and speak my mind and kick
Which
my
is why
leg
I
up
love
and
you.
do whatever I want to do. And I can't even just walk and stand in a line.
I know.
I mean, I'll walk in and there'll be a long ass line. I'm like, I must explore why it's this long.
Yeah.
If I can just walk over there because no one's moving or
Mm.
trying or stepping out.
But that's what makes you so special is I think you see the glass is half full. And you're somebody who's very positive who makes the world a better place.
Oh, thank you
It's
so
true.
much. And
Yeah.
so do you,
Thank
if I
you.
can reflect back to you, because we didn't really get into how you started your company, which interests
Which
me.
is a cool story actually. So what happened was I was working in a job that didn't feel fulfilling and I eventually ended up in Bali and I literally started designing.
How did you eventually just end up in Bali?
Well, I had a friend and a woman I knew, and she was creating jewelry, and I ended up going, and we had a short um, relationship of working together, but I didn't even know I was a designer. I had no idea I could even design, but I knew other jewelry brands, and so I'd say, "Oh, I like what they're doing, but I would do it this way." And so I think it goes to show that we don't necessarily need formal training. Sometimes things are inside of us. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Am such a big believer in that.
Yeah.
People are like, well, I didn't write a book or I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor and who
Yeah.
am I to do that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That stopped me for
Yeah.
years before I
Totally.
started doing this stuff because I was like,
Totally.
or I would call and say, I'd like to speak. And they're like, have you written a book? Are you an
Yeah.
expert? Are you? I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then I would look up, what's the word expert? You've been
Yeah.
doing something a long time and you're pretty good at it. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
a parenting expert. And
Yeah.
they're like, sorry, where's your book?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one time I was at a conference, Lead with Love, the year before.
Yeah.
And a guy named Punacha came up and sat next to me at a bar. And we were
Mm.
at some fundraiser at night.
Yeah.
And we started talking and he was laughing really hard. We were laughing. And he was
Yeah.
like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I spoke this weekend. I have 5 kids, this and that and this, that. He goes, would you be the parenting expert? I mean, Deepak Chopra's global well-being app.
No
And
way.
I was like, yeah. And in
Right
that
on.
moment, I became an expert when I had
Yeah.
been wanting to be an expert so bad so I could go speak and share my story. He was like, you're an expert.
But think about it. Your soul pushed you to be a mother. Like you knew that was inside of you.
I did know that was inside
Yeah.
of me.
So that's to me like your soul, your God voice saying, I need to be here. But you knew inside of you, I want to have this. You have 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
The
I had
5th
5.
baby was like, I need this baby. Like
Well, I knew we had to
Yeah.
go through the
You
frozen
knew that.
embryos. I
You
knew
knew
that.
that. Yeah.
I was really clear at the
Yeah.
beginning. We
Yeah.
have to go through all the frozen
Yeah.
embryos. And Dave's like,
Yeah.
oh, hell, we're not.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, God has this.
Yeah.
We're not going to have 11 kids.
Yeah.
We're going
We're
to
gonna
get the
have
ones we're
5.
supposed to have. We just got 5. But yeah, I just remember really, and I have no qualm about other people if they let theirs expire, give
Yeah.
them to research,
Yeah.
donate them. I could care less. I was really clear. We're going through all of them.
Yeah.
So thank God Dave
Yeah.
was able to keep making money and acting to
Totally.
pay for that because we had to use surrogates and it was crazy,
Yeah.
crazy expensive, but it was well worth it.
Of course.
Yeah, well worth it.
Yeah. So when so a couple years after living here, I actually ended up moving to LA from San Francisco, and LA is where I really grew because it's a lot of influence here and a lot of people in the entertainment industry. I really grew my company. And a few years after living in LA, I went to Bali and I was going for a work trip. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, it was that same feeling I felt in Nepal. And I was like, I need to live here. And I remember sitting in a cafe crying and talking to a friend who I worked with. And I said, I want to live here. And she's like, well, why can't you? And ended up
So your
that,
company was already going,
yeah, but I was based here in LA. And
but you
so
weren't making the jewelry there yet.
I was making the jewelry in Bali. Yeah, I had already
Already?
been making the jewelry in Bali for a few years.
Oh,
So it ended up growing after I started creating the pieces for my friends, my family. I started selling, and then I eventually picked up Nordstrom, which was huge.
oh my gosh.
So it went to the next level.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
I'm missing a few pieces. I think it's
Yeah,
interesting for
sure.
people to hear.
Yeah, totally.
So you're in Bali and you
I
have
came
a little,
back. I came
but
back
you had a little relationship with a lady
with a
working
a
jewelry,
man. Yeah.
a man,
Yeah.
and then that ended, and then you left and went back.
So sorry.
Like,
I
where
should be
did
more
your
clear.
company actually
So
start?
it started with my taking a trip there, and then I eventually started working with this man who had one smith. It was him and one smith, and I started creating jewelry for myself and my friends and my family, and people loved it. They started buying it, and I would just gift it. I was always gifting people, and then I found that I could sell to stores, so I started selling to stores.
Like little boutiques?
Yeah, like you start doing consignment or doing street fairs, and people loved it.
So were you paying that man in Bali, who was making it your own money and then
Yeah.
selling it,
Yeah.
starting to sell it?
Yeah, so we had and here we are 15 years later, and we have over 100 smiths.
Wow.
Yeah, he's my partner, my brother.
So,
Yeah.
wow.
So we have probably 150 smiths.
And when you go there, I don't know if we can just get it close to the camera.
Yeah,
but
so it's 100% handmade. So every single piece is made
has these
entirely by hand.
tons of
Yeah,
teeny
yeah.
delicate circles. And a guy, I saw like a video with a
Yeah.
little
Tweezer. Yeah.
places each one in.
So most jewelry is made by machine. It's mass produced, but our jewelry is we're the only brand on the island of Bali that does 100% handmade.
Wow.
So we're really committed to the handmade process.
So you employed 100 people there?
A little over 150 maybe. Yeah.
Talk about making a difference.
Well, to me, I feel like I'm the lucky one that I get to work with all these amazing artisans. So when 2 years after doing the business, mostly in LA, I was like, I want to live here in Bali. And then it lined up. And I ended up moving there, and I had a family member running my business over here in LA. So I was there for 5 years, and I would come back and forth, but
Oh my
it
gosh,
changed
how
my whole
was
life.
it?
It was
Why did
on
it change your life living there? I
well,
haven't been there, but I heard it's
it
magical.
is. Well, you're amongst the Balinese, and they're the most magical spiritual people. So their whole
Oh,
life is about gratitude and giving. So they have these beautiful offerings that they do multiple times a day, and it's all about giving thanks for everything that you've been given. So everything's about ceremony there, and a lot of our Smiths are actually from Java, which is a neighboring island to Bali, because most of the Balinese are always doing ceremony. I mean,
they're just
we'd
into it.
totally, we'd never get any jewelry done. So we employ a lot of people outside of Bali.
They're just doing constant ceremony.
Totally.
Could you come make
It's
a ring?
all-
I'm sorry. I got to put on my shawl and dance.
Totally. So they're, but that's what makes Bali so special, is that you're around all this amazing energy where they're all about family, love, giving.
Oh, isn't that nice?
It's incredible. And I think
that even hearing those words
Yeah.
makes me just breathe and
it's
relax.
very soothing. Yeah. So what was amazing for me is that my background was, I grew up with 7 brothers and sisters. I grew up with,
There were 8 of you?
yeah. And
Wow.
I grew up with my parents getting divorced when I was young, 2 alcoholic parents. I mean,
That's
just total
chaos,
chaos.
man. That's chaos.
Yeah. And then my mom got sober. My dad passed. My mom got remarried. But there was I came from this total, it was just a lot
No
of
stability.
no stability. And then I went to Bali, and I felt this peace, and I felt loved, and I found my extended family there.
You're kind of like Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, it's funny. I've met Elizabeth Gilbert. Yeah, I met her on a plane. That's so funny.
Did I met her as well?
Yeah, you did say you met her.
I
Yeah.
met her when she spoke at Royce Hall
Yeah,
backstage, and I
yeah.
gabbed with her for a minute, and
Yeah.
I was really, really moved by her
She's
eyeballs.
lovely. Yeah, and her eyeballs.
Did you see her eyeballs? They
I-
just look at you
She
and they
remembers your
smile.
name. She's like one of those people like Bill Clinton. He'll remember your name. That's how Elizabeth Gilbert is. She'll be like, "Oh, Becky." Like, you'll tell her your name, and then like
Did you
5
meet
minutes
Bill
later.
Clinton?
No. Did you?
Okay, I had a tiny encounter with him, and I am kind of neutral in
Did he
politics.
check you out?
Well, yeah,
Totally.
that's why I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
So Dave was performing 10, 15 years ago at Largo, and I went out on Melrose.
Wait, Largo, that's Trump's hotel?
No, in
oh my God.
Hollywood. There's
my
a
God.
place called
That's hilarious.
Largo.
I was like, you were at Trump's country club?
No,
What?
no. No, I was down in like the scums, like nightclubs. And I came out of Largo. Dave was talking to people. It was like midnight or 1 a.m. And I was just standing on the street by myself. And all of a sudden, these cars went whoosh, 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 a bunch of them down the street. And then it, like slow motion, I looked, and it was Bill Clinton. And he looked over like this. He goes,
Oh my
and I was
Lord.
like,
That is awesome.
oh my gosh, I wasn't even a huge fan of him. And he was magnetic. I wanted to jump
Yeah.
in that car and make out.
Like
It
the
was
Dalai
very
Lama. Oh my God,
strange.
that's awesome.
He
I
was
love
just
that.
like,
Yeah, he's powerful.
he was so commanding driving by in a car. I got it. I understood Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, totally.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
he's
it.
charismatic as all get out.
That is so funny. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. So
So you're like, so great.
I'm like, no, I'm like, where were we?
I don't know.
even know.
No.
We were talking about Bill Clinton.
I
Oh,
know.
Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I met her on a plane because we work with a charity in Bali that. So
How
I
many
took a-
charities do you work for?
we work
with?
we work with 3. But how it all started was I was living in Bali for maybe a year or so, and I was feeling like I needed to connect with something more service oriented in Bali, or I just felt like kind of empty. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm living in this country. Yeah, I'm giving jobs, but felt like there was something more.
I've employed 100 people, but there's got to be more I can do.
Well, I mean, they were doing, I didn't think of it in that way.
Yeah.
And I started researching people in Bali that were doing charity work. And the problem with sometimes giving to local people is it can be a little bit corrupt, and you never know where the money's going. And I ended up meeting this woman who was a midwife that was providing free healthcare for local women. And she became the midwife to a couple of my friends. And I met her, and it was on. And I created some necklaces that went back to her charity. And I was so out of it in the beginning. We gave 100% to her. And then I had a finance person come in, a couple of years later, and she's like, yeah, you can't give all the profits away.
Yeah, I give a portion.
But she's amazing, and she changed my life.
What does she do?
So she won CNN Hero in 2011 But she was this woman who moved from America and found that women in Indonesia, specifically Bali, were dying in childbirth from hemorrhaging. And she, was a doula, and then she became a midwife. And so she started delivering all these babies in the village where she was living. And she found a need. And so she filled it, and she created this clinic. And so when I met her, they had this itty bitty clinic. And so when I created the necklaces and told her story, we did a little mini film of her. I had some friends come. They were our number one selling necklaces.
Wow.
Yeah, our number one selling pieces.
I talk about story all the time because I think no matter what you're doing, if you're a CEO or if you're just with your friends, wherever you are, when you share a story, a personal story from the heart, people are engaged and want to be a part of it however they can.
Absolutely.
Rather than just starting, this is my product and I make here. Yeah. It's like, this is where it came from. This is my heart.
It was very organic too. It wasn't even like, oh, we got to do this I'm not saying that to say that of course we want to make money from, but but it became more of a soul.
It's just in the story of connecting with people and hearing where they came from in their heart. Yeah. You're all in, you're invested in them.
And it's interesting because as we've grown as a company, we work with different nonprofits. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the other ones, but what's amazing about Rob and this midwife is that she's total boots on the ground. She's the one delivering the babies. She's gone from 1 clinic to 6. She goes to disaster areas. She works with the poorest of the poor. Women that in Indonesia, if you can't pay your hospital bill, they'll keep your baby in the hospital.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So she's kind of like,
she's a Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa, baby deliverer.
Yeah, she totally is. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, she's rad.
So have you helped her expand her?
Yeah. So we've been able to raise a significant amount of money just through the sale of jewelry, and that's connected with her story. So I feel like Anna Beck. So the name Anna Beck actually comes from my middle name's Ann. My first name's Becky. So a lot of people call me Anna, but I'm actually Becky. But what's happened is we've been able to.
Why did you put it backwards and not do Anna, not do Becky Anna?
It just doesn't sound good.
No, Anna Beck sounds a little fresher.
Sounds a little better. So
if people want to support that woman and
they can go to annabeck.com. So it's ANNABECK.com, and they can go to the charity section of on the website, and they can even see videos of her story.
Go to her website, annabeck.com, just to see what one woman, this is really that thing. It's like she's traveling around, opening her heart and, listening to the whispers of her soul, and it's taking her to places where she's making a difference. Yeah. It's not like you were born going, I'm going to go there one day and find a midwife. Yeah. You're just listening to the whispers and open, and you're making such a huge difference. So click on that. It's called Charities.
So it will be either philanthropy or charity, and it's called Bumi Sahat. So it's the Circle of Life collection. So that's one of 3 charities that we work with. But when you meet people like that are so open-hearted and they devote their life to giving, you really, I'm just lucky to know her. Yeah. So when I'm around her, I realize she needs people like us, because she's the one in the trenches. She's the one who goes to these disaster areas.
Yeah, she can't go raise money or go talk to people because she's delivering babies.
And she also doesn't, and she's a storyteller, and she's written books, but I feel like it would serve her to be in front of her brand a little bit. Yeah. But she's devoted to these women, and I just saw her a couple months ago in Bali, and she said, a promise is a promise, and when people need something, I have to deliver. But she's otherworldly. Yeah. She's really amazing. Yeah, you'll meet her someday.
Yeah, I want to go with you there.
Yeah, you will. Yeah,
I want to go for sure. Can I lay out on the beach and have a pina colada also, besides just helping people?
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I just have to make sure I get a little fun.
So that became that became what a big part of who we are, like the heart of who we are, and we become sort of a bridge for different charities. So
yes, you have.
The other one was when I went to Africa a few years after moving back from Bali. And I learned about the plight of animals there, or the plight of elephants, where they're becoming extinct. And I have always been obsessed with elephants. So we teamed up with this.
You have on your elephant necklace.
Yeah, I've got it on right now. So we partnered with a company called a nonprofit called David Sheldrick. They're pretty big, and like Ellen supports them. And so 30% of the elephants that we designed go back to Sheldrick. And you can adopt an elephant. And then a year ago, I did a photo shoot in Morocco, and it was most hellish shoot I've ever done. I mean, it was just a very difficult place to go and do a photo shoot. And, if anybody knows anything about that part of the world, is that it's very difficult
I
for
don't.
women, very difficult for women, very, I love Muslims. I have a lot of Muslims that work for us in Bali, but it's extremely strict. Women are covered. They're not out on the street. You don't see girls on the street.
Dear God, thank you
Yeah.
so much for letting me be
I
born
know.
here at this
I
time.
know. I agree.
I don't even know what I would do. I'd be getting lashes if I
agree.
lived there with showing
Oh
my
my God. you
whole
totally would.
face. I'd be just constantly being caned.
Maybe you had a past life and now, you're turning it around in this life because of how difficult it was. Who knows? But when I went there, I had a really hard week and a half with my team there trying to do this photo shoot. And I ended up getting introduced to this woman who owned a resort. And we went to go shoot at her resort. And she told me about the school that she started where she's empowering young women in Morocco. And we
Holy
became
Toledo.
friends. And she's been on the New York Times, and she has something called Project Soar. So that's our latest collaboration where she's a designer. She's really got the business side and the philanthropy side. So
As you've elevated, you're attracting people who are worldwide making
Yeah.
a difference with
Yeah.
organizations and
Yeah.
creating. I mean, when I think about like, okay, I'm going to create an organization, a nonprofit, where do I start?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people are just doing
They're
it.
doing it. But I think it has everything to do with when I met that woman in Morocco. Her name's Miriam Montague, and she's from America. I spoke with her that day after our photo shoot, and I swear to God, I had PTSD. I was exhausted, and she was the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So when I went to her school, I had to literally go into the bathroom because I started crying because I knew I was there for a reason. And when I saw these young
Mm.
girls who can't even walk freely out in the streets, then they were in this school and they felt free to be who they were and being empowered to learn and live the life of their dreams. Miriam was making this happen, and she's been able to open almost, I want to say 49 schools. And she's like a
Wow.
badass. Yeah. So I knew that I was supposed to meet her, and we went
Of
outside the school
course.
and we were having a conversation, and she said one thing that gave me the chills. She said, I said, why did you do this? And she said, I couldn't live here. I needed to I needed to do something to give back. And that was my personal experience when I lived in Bali. So I knew that we were like soul sisters,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Totally.
gosh, how many other people have gone to Bali and been like, I need to employ people and change this whole
But it
island
was a
to
little
make a huge difference.
selfish. I mean, I wanted to start a company. I mean, that was just universe guiding that. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to employ people. I'm going to help
Well,
people.
no, everywhere
Didn't
you
start
go,
out like
you're
that.
drawn to. It's like Eat, Pray, Love. She just went and kind of made out, and then she went and prayed with a guy, and then she
She
but
ended up with
you-
a woman, and
and then she like did that. But you are actually going and connecting with huge people, partnering with them and supporting them. I think there's nothing better,
Mm,
especially with
agree.
women supporting women.
I agree.
What is it? How can I uplift you? How
I
can I
totally
support
agree.
you? And how can
Well,
we
and
work
also it's
together? The
very difficult for
collaboration.
women to be. What I found is not all women are friendly and cuddly and want to be your friend. Sometimes the more visible or successful or stronger I get, it intimidates other women. I mean, and not all women are supportive of other women. And
No, most aren't.
Yeah, it's
And
fascinating.
they see somebody rising and
Yeah.
they think,
Yeah.
why did they get that? Why do they have that? I should have that. I could do
Yeah.
that. That kind of thing. And then that
Yeah.
keeps them in the low
I
level.
agree. I
And the
agree.
people who say,
Right on.
yeah, like my girlfriend
for
right
you.
now she's traveling with Michelle Obama. She's a creative director of her book tour. And she was with Adele last night
Yeah.
and whatever, and having the time of her life, and then she's off to Paris. And I was just looking at her and I was so filled with joy.
You're proud of her.
I was so proud. That's what I
Yeah,
texted her.
you're
I'm
proud of
so
her.
proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of
Because
what you have.
I think there's a difference. So when we love ourselves, we can openly love other people. So I had to get to that place of loving myself. I don't even know if I fully had it in Bali. I think I had it more when I moved to LA after Bali, because another messy crisis was I think I wasn't depressed for 2 years, but I had another awakening, which is the service part. And I'll tell this real quick because but I think it connects with that higher purpose, because I moved back from Bali and I knew I had to come back. There was just this message that I needed to come back. And I really struggled living here, and I felt lonely. I felt sad. I had friends, but it felt like something was missing. And I remember it was 4 years ago on my birthday. I was turning 41 maybe. And exactly, which is so funny. And because I'm about to come up on 45. And I remember feeling so lonely and dead and empty and sad. And I spoke to a friend on the phone and I said, I don't know what to do. I had gone through a breakup and I said, I feel like I want to die. And she laughed. And I said, why are you laughing? And she said, because you don't trust God. You don't trust the process. And, or, and I remember being like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah,
I was like, dude,
last thing.
whatever.
I just said I wanted to die.
And I had just gotten this house in Santa Monica and I was like, oh, I got the cute little, carriage house. I'll be so happy here. You move to the house and you're not happy. And I had that gut wrenching cry for help. I hit my knees and I'm not big on like prayer or like, God will help me. But I hit my knees because I had nowhere to go. And I said, universe, give me a sign that I'm going to be okay. Like tell me, why am I here in LA? Show me.
Knock, knock, knock.
Yep. I went to sleep. I took a nap. I woke up. The man I was renting the house from knocked on the door.
Oh my gosh.
Literally knocked on the door.
That's how when you do get on your knees and you open with,
It was
with
God
an
at the
open
door.
heart,
It was God at the door.
you get a knock.
And I said, hey, how you doing? And he said, welcome. I'm so glad you're living here. And I said, I heard your wife opened up some clinics in Africa for expectant mothers. I worked with this woman in Bali. Long story short, he says, what are you doing tonight? And I said, I don't know. And he said, come to dinner. There's these people who are here from Africa that have provided all the medical equipments for the hospitals that my wife is opening. And I literally sat at the table and they were my people. Next thing I know, they're like, come to Africa with us. So that was sort of another beginning.
Well, you've had like 4 of them.
Totally.
And it's kind of like where you get in your old sad story.
Yeah, totally.
And then you ask for more
Yeah.
or open
Yeah.
for more. And it comes.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't stay in the sad story.
Yeah.
You don't walk around like a zombie and wait
But
in
I
line.
think you have to feel sad. I think that our society teaches us to get out, numb. And I think part of that year, those 2
yeah.
years of living in LA was like a lot of feelings I had never felt.
I love feeling.
You do? I don't.
I love it so much. I do because it's before it would
Really?
be dramatic and victim mode
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
woe
Yeah.
is me. I
Yeah,
can't believe
yeah,
this is
yeah.
happening to me. And now it's like, oh, let this
Yeah.
run through my body. Let me cry
It's
it
because you're
out.
tapped in.
Let me release it and release it and
But
release
most
it.
people don't want to feel it. I
I
mean,
know.
you
And
just
when I
don't.
tell people I love to cry,
Yeah.
they laugh and I'm like, no, seriously, it's equal to me laughing and
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
They both are releases for an emotion and they're both necessary.
Yeah, totally.
But I did 30 years of no crying.
Yeah.
I was tough as nails. And so when I started crying, it was
a healing.
insane.
Yeah.
It went on for months.
Yeah.
And then finally it slowed down a little bit and I could talk again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we bury and we push down. But even in Bali, it was interesting. I had a really good life there, but there was a part of me that hid. I mean, when I came to LA, it got a little rougher. And I had some stuff with family but there was stuff I didn't want to deal with because I was always traveling or checking out on a bliss life in Bali. So I think it's really amazing when people show up and it's hard and they have to deal.
Yeah.
Because we don't want my drug was travel. It was alcohol and drugs when I was younger. And then I wasn't much of a druggie, but definitely checking
Me
out,
too.
food. I was like a chubby little kid. Like I remember my mom saying I had like
How did you stop all your
my
vices?
God.
Because you're thin and you're not drunk.
Well,
What is your vice now? You don't
Coffee.
meditate?
coffee. No, I do meditate.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, totally.
Because you were saying all these things that are so spiritual. I was like, wait, meditation is
God.
like the most free available thing to us that quiets our mind.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Well, I think my go-to now is service. Like if I feel like crap and
Yes.
I spend half the week in San Diego, I'll go to this horse farm and like go feed the horses or I realize that animals are now my thing or I don't love people all the time. Like I do great with people, but I don't necessarily always want to be around people. I like animals a lot but I want to be
You're
around
so
people.
cute. I'm like, I like people and animals. I'm like, I don't know, whatever, but I really like
But
the
like
people.
I do like people, but I don't want you've got to find out where you're like soulless, like where you
Yeah.
find peace, you
Yeah.
know?
I love horses, horseback riding
Really?
so much.
Are you a horseback rider?
Well, I had a horse when I was younger.
did?
Yeah.
I
And
love
back in
that.
Kansas City. And
Oh my
then
God. First of all, Kansas City, That's how I fell in love with you.
Why?
Because that's my number one Nordstrom store is in Oak Park, Missouri. And so we go to Kansas City.
Oak Park Mall.
And I think they're the best people on the planet.
Oh.
The Midwest. The people in that area, though, are the bomb.
Yeah, they're so nice.
They're the nicest people.
It's Kansas City though, right? And it's like Shawnee, it's Oak Park Mall.
Yeah.
Is that just the mall, right?
And they're moving to downtown where the square is or whatever.
Oh yeah,
They're
the
moving it.
plaza.
The plaza.
It's very shishy. Are you getting a store there?
Well, no, the Nordstrom is moving down there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you'll be there.
But I was like, you're Kansas City girl?
I'm a Kansas City girl.
I love it. I love it.
Go Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still am like a little, because you'll be like, I just went here and then I kind of started something. But how did you get it from giving it to your friends to become a company that's national?
Well, I was a worker bee. So like it really, I think
every day.
Totally. And like I wasn't, when people are like, I'm going to start a business, I really think it comes down to not necessarily being the most talented person, but being a hard worker.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a lot of my friends who are successful actors too, they have that natural talent, but they work their asses off.
You're Chicago, right?
No, I'm Rochester, New York, but I do sound Midwest.
You just sounded.
I know. It came out. That's so funny.
That sounded just like Chicago. I was like, wait a second, where are you from now?
I know, right?
Traveler?
Upstate New York.
Yeah, I think perseverance. And I think that the only thing that can derail you is you.
Yeah, I
agree. If you know what you're going to do and you keep doing it, it's going to happen.
I agree.
It can't not happen.
You're so wise.
So you were not giving it out for free. Then you were knocking on boutique stores. How did you cross over from knocking on boutique stores?
So I was a sales rep before. I was a jewelry sales rep. So I learned about the business and I learned about, I knew buyers. And I was also hungry. I would go to people's stores and be like, hey, do you want my jewelry? And they would, it was beautiful. So they would buy
beautiful.
It. Yeah. But I had like a hunger, know,
Yes.
and you have to have, so I guess I was a little bit extroverted because I knew how to be around people. And a lot of artists don't have the left and right brain. And I think I have a little bit of both.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I spoke recently at a thing. There were like 600 people at this Rockstar Marketing Boot Camp. And I spoke, and after a girl that I knew said, the woman next to her said, wow, she just started. She just got up there and did that.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, well, she's only done it for over the last like 20 years, shaping who she is in this message. But you know what I mean?
So true.
It's so true. It's like every single thing I've done hasn't been exactly this, but it's been the same thing that you did, like selling jewelry and working with that one guy who had one guy on Bali.
Yeah.
And it's
grit.
all the little steps where you're getting your big bag of knowledge.
But I think we can.
So when you find your creativity, you have all these tools.
Of being like, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and I read a lot about entrepreneurs. And I think there's something unique about entrepreneurs in the sense that they have regret. They don't give up. And especially successful
You said
ones.
they have regret?
They have a grit.
Grit,
they're willing to like go to any lengths to like get it done. And that's how I am. I mean, I show up. I'm now in a position where I have really great people.
Yeah.
So I can spend a little less time in the office and go out and explore and connect with other creative people. But you really, but that was me for years. Like I started in my bedroom, started packing jewelry in my bedroom. And so when I meet people that are entrepreneurs that, you got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
But I always had the vision, like I was like, I really wanted it always to be bigger. But then you plateau too. Like I think I plateaued recently where I'm now bringing in people who can help me elevate my brand.
I was going to ask, what's your dream for it? Like your big blue sky?
Well, I definitely want to help more people. I'd love to be international. I'd like to diversify, maybe go into fine jewelry. We're in the process of opening up a showroom in Bali so people can go and actually have that experience and go visit the Smiths and see how they actually 100% hand make the jewelry and interact and be a part of that process, but also give people the Bali story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing a workshop for 100 women.
Great.
October 18th through 20. And I would love it if you came and you guys had a table with your jewelry and you spoke a little bit about it and shared about it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I would love that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You were talking about the mess a little bit. I never really got messy with you.
Yeah, okay.
We just got like a little bit of dust on my finger.
Yeah.
But was the mess your drinking and then overcoming that?
I don't think
or was
so.
it just kind of the loneliness?
I think I think that's one of the messes, but the big mess was right before I when I explained that story. I
With
don't
the
know.
guy knocking at your door
Yeah,
when you were on your
I had a
knees.
really low. I had a
Yeah,
that
that you
was a
were wanting to
really low.
die.
I mean, I wasn't suicidal, but I remember the pain of, I think that a lot of our I'm gonna get it's gonna sound so woo woo, but I think a lot of our wounds from when we're really young, we don't really tap into. So a lot of the work I had to do was around my family of origin. Like what are the messages?
That's not
What did I
woo-woo at
take
all.
away? What did I take away
Yeah.
as a kid? How do I move in the world? So I think a lot of the way I moved in the world was based on where I came from.
Yeah.
And so a part of my story was running and not
Yeah.
wanting to feel. And so when I moved to LA and I had to really confront the discomfort of whatever was coming up, it was a lot of a sadness, a lot of
Yeah.
anger, because I was used to not feeling and checking out. And so when I stopped checking out with the moving and the being in a place that wasn't necessarily comfortable, that's where I really grew.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And like for everyone listening as well, we were raised by human beings. So
Yeah.
we were raised by people who aren't perfect,
Yeah.
who have their own stuff that they brought from their childhood
Yeah.
unresolved.
Yeah.
And they share it with us
Yeah.
and we pick it up and share it with our kids. And
I
I think
agree.
that having the awareness that there's these old wounds inside of us,
Yeah.
and Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body,
Yeah.
and then other people call it your younger self.
Yeah.
But it's like my younger self's her needs were not met,
Yeah.
and she still resides within my body.
Yeah.
And as an adult, I'm moving forward as adultly, and then all of a sudden I'm like pissed, or I'm
Yeah.
reacting like overreacting to a situation. I'm like,
Yeah.
where the hell is this coming from? I'm like,
Totally.
oh, that's my younger self who didn't have her needs met. So that person still exists within all of
I
us
agree. Yeah.
and runs the show if we're not aware of her or
Mhm.
him. And there's something really cool about now when I get riled up, when I remember, like I have all these tools, but sometimes in my real life, I forget to use them.
Yeah.
I just yell.
Yeah.
But when I remember, I just put my hands on my heart and say, I picture me at a younger age that I can remember and just say, I've got you. You're okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Totally.
You're not alone anymore. Just calming her down because I think that that's how people get crazy
Oh, I
and they don't
agree.
know what it
I
is.
totally agree. And I love what you said about the younger self because the thing that kept popping up for me because I became, even as an adult and a business owner, was I became a chronic people pleaser and I wanted you to like me and love me or I wanted to fix you.
So
And
much work.
totally. So as an adult, what really came up, which was the real work, and I worked with a friend who does a lot of this deep work. And what I found was that even as an adult, I would go to this place of like, I'm not okay. And then I would have to dig on like when I was a kid, what was the scenario? And what I found was it completely connected with when I was a kid, where I was always around people. So my comfort was being around people. And if I wasn't around people, I wasn't okay. And so as an adult, I found that to be with self, I had to learn to trust that outside things couldn't fix me.
Yeah.
Like we have to really find that comfort within, which I think is a effing journey. It is an
Yeah.
effing journey. Bless
Yeah.
anybody that finds their way, but I think it is because now I don't because we want to get to our heart, but I th- I really truly believe that we have this way of coping and living until we break that pattern of why am I
Yeah.
doing this or why don't I feel okay right now? And the truth is that it's the old crap,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's if we don't heal that,
Yeah,
it still exists.
totally. And then what do I do? What do I pick up to deal with it? Like for me, I picked up control and people pleasing, which is really funny.
Yeah.
And now when the people pleasing went away because I worked on it, I was left with self.
Yeah.
And so and that's really painful, but that's where the awakening happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this right here is all the work we are here to do on the
Mhm.
planet.
Yeah.
Right here. And when
Yeah.
we're doing this work, this stuff shows up in a new way. Opportunities come, people come. And I have on my website a 33-day free series called Coming Home.
I love
And
that.
it's all about
Yeah.
self-care.
Yeah.
And really, I always tell everyone put yourself first
Yeah.
and your partner or your relationship second and your kids third because they're only there because you love this
Yeah, if you have
person.
nothing to give,
But
then
you're only here
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
And although people are crossing on our paths all the time, we're just here for our soul's journey and to just be aware and, you know, just think it's so simple and it's so forgotten.
Mhm.
And and the minute you search outside of yourself for anything, you're going to get more of whatever it
And
is that
nobody
you're
nobody can fix you. Like
No.
even if you're in a relationship, or I mean, I've been in so many relationships where I'm like, I'm either going to fix you or you're going to fix me, and that is so empty. I mean, we're relying on a person to make us feel okay,
Yeah,
which
something
seems like
outside of ourselves.
crazy,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I think that that's what's missing kind of in this culture, is that we're so forced to be materialistic and find peace in things. And really it's fine. It's not
And
working.
it's like it's amping up too with the looking down at your phone or your
Totally.
computer or and I do that as well, but it's we're missing life, we're missing the world.
I totally agree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
So buy
I
my jewelry because
so buy her jewelry, Anna Beck. Is
But
it
it it's
AnnaBeckDesign.com?
annabeck.com, but it really does go to support these artisans that
These are her earrings,
yeah.
and
I
this
mean,
is my favorite
there's a
ring.
lot of in the other thing, just real quick, is that the jewelry, because it's around so much beautiful energy, a lot of people feel that it's very protective and it empowers them
Mm.
because it comes from such a place of love. And I believe that.
I believe that too, and
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of dots and circles,
Yeah.
and this has so many little dots
Yeah.
and circles, and
It's
to
her
think that
signature.
some precious
I know. You can see on the website.
took it and just
We
put
have little
each one
videos.
in
I
there
know.
for me, that I was
I
going to
know.
get it
That
on
was
my finger
made
one
one of a
day.
kind for you.
For
For you.
me. Thank you for
Oh.
bringing your vision so that we get to wear it to fruition. And thank you for opening your heart to make such a difference in the world in 3 different charities that you are giving back to. And you're such an inspiration and a reminder of the importance of being of service wherever and however it shows up. And it
Yeah.
doesn't even
And
have to be giant.
no, it doesn't. I totally agree. Just be nice to somebody.
Yeah, it's that simple. You just are really nice to people who own hotels and have companies
Oh
and stuff.
God, I'm lucky.
Yeah,
I
you
love
are
you. You do
lucky.
the same. I mean,
I
you
love
mirror me.
you,
So
and I love your
I
jewelry
love
so
you.
much.
I love you. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored
You're
to be here.
welcome.
Yay.
Thank you for being such a beautiful
Yay.
spirit.
Yay.